So I wanted to answer your questions, Shan, from a totally different angle, right? Kind of to what I was talking about earlier about how the seed gets planted and it goes into the tree and we forget about the roots. The over sexualization of Black women did not come from us inherently. It
Mm.
came from us, it came from Africans looking at their women as non sexual objects and as people. And then here come the colonizers and see tail and titties and just cannot control themselves, right?
Hmm.
Now comes the fruit of the tree saying, hey, if I don't have my booty cheeks out, if I'm too conservative, right? So it's not an us problem, it's that some people have internalized it. But I still don't think that porn and over sexualization is still the root cause of the issue. So I was thinking about your question while podcast was talking. I started thinking about the Hispanic community.
Mm-hmm.
They are super hypersexualized,
Mm.
from their dance moves to their culture to how their women are looked at and all sorts of stuff, right? And yet they're still able to have families. So then
Mm-hmm.
when you start following the thought process, it goes to what Marcus was talking about earlier about the leverage and propaganda. There is incentive for Black people to not have families here, right? But
Yep.
at the same time, I hear what podcast is saying, and I do have to just slightly disagree that if we don't address the issue that we see in decline now, we risk putting ourselves in a situation where it's so bad where the majority of people will be delinquents instead of just a few of them, right? And so, yes, we're doing okay. We could do a whole lot better as well.
But you think that, so you think that that means we have to get married?
I think that the institution of marriage provides a safety net that is easier to navigate for most people than trying to navigate all of that paperwork to create security on your own for the average person. Now, if you are intelligent and you can manage that, then the institution of marriage may not be for you. But to somebody who may not be as savvy and understand how to provide that level of security for their family, it,
Mm-hmm.
the institution of marriage is the easier path.
So if I put 10 pies in front of you and I said five of these pies are poisonous, would you dare eat any one of them?
I would ask you why the pies are poisonous in the first place.
So that means you wouldn't eat them
No, I'm the type of person to ask questions to get understanding. So why are five of the pies poisonous?
because we poisoned them.
But why?
Because we poisoned them because we wanted to.
But see, that isn't really an answer, right? And I get where you're going, right? I'm not trying to be disingenuous. I understand where you're going, but the
So
institution
you
of marriage
wouldn't eat the
itself
pie.
is not poisonous. It's what people have done to it. I get the point, right? Why would people take that risk? I get the point. But if we follow that and then 20, 30 years from now, women say it's not worth the risk because all of these men have left them unprotected because they didn't know what paperwork to file, we're back at the same problem again, right? So
Why
I
do but this is what I don't understand. Why do we always jump to the man is dead?
I didn't say dead,
So what
right?
do you
Like that's
when you
not
say
what I'm
protection,
saying.
what are you talking about when you say
So
left them unprotected?
I'm saying if there's an injury at work,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you were the girlfriend, you don't have the same rights as the husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may not be the emergency contact because not everybody remembers to update that,
Right.
right?
It'll be your mama.
Picking up the kids, right? If you haven't filed the necessary paperwork for the kids to be picked up by the other parent, it's not there. The institution of marriage has been made easy to navigate in terms of like just living through society itself. I'm not saying everybody has to get married. I don't advocate for that. You don't believe in marriage, your person doesn't believe in marriage, y'all do you. It's not for everybody. But demonizing the institution of marriage makes things so much more complicated for people who don't know how to navigate everyday scenarios. When you talk about insurance, when you talk about doctor's visits, when you talk about, certain states have different laws for cohabitation. Like, All of these things are so much more challenging to navigate for your average person.
So I vehemently disagree. There is no paperwork that you can have in a marriage that you cannot have outside of a marriage certificate. You can make people whatever you want them to make, whatever you want to make them. You can have wills, you can have estates, you can have what is it, Marcus, when the person can make a decision over you when you're in the hospital and you they,
Our attorney.
Power of attorney.
absolutely, you can do all of that. And as far as picking up kids, I mean, that's why you sign the birth certificate. What I'm saying is marriage is not the answer because we're not ready for that. We're not prepared for that. Emotionally, psychologically, we do not treat each other right. We don't. We don't value each other. We don't see each other value in a valuable way. And unfortunately, it's never going to change because it starts with the one demographic of people who refuse under any circumstances to take accountability, and that's women. So that's exactly why I am an individualist. I push individualism. I'm all for it. And I believe that what we can do to better our situation together is start to do business together, real live business together. We got, I think, 64% of all associates, bachelors, masters, and PhDs that go to black people go to black women. You know what that tells me? We got some educated women out here. Let's put that to use. And I don't have nothing to do with sex. See, I would agree with Shan when she says that we are over sexualized, but I don't think it's actually stopping us from doing anything except for practicing business with each other. If we start getting together and start building, 4 or 5 people here put something together, get an investment firm going, 10 people over here, 15 people over here, all y'all that's in college together, put your resources together, take some of that money that you're spending on alcohol and all this other stuff and partying and shoes and purses and put it together. Go buy some property, start doing business together as individuals and grow to learn to value each other beyond sex. Then I think we'll actually be ready for marriage. But just telling people to go do it, to be doing it just so they could say they married. You know how many people foreclose on their homes every year because they went and bought a home just so they could say I'm not renting, and they weren't actually prepared to deal with a house. I mean, it's just got to be better than that. Shan?
But I think that okay, so you do things to make sure that your family is stable. It always starts with you and your family first, right? The
Mhm.
reason why I say sex does interfere with that is because usually when you are mating, that's your first time. Most people won't even have contact with another person unless it's like, oh, there's an interest there. It could be friendship, it definitely could be business. But
Mhm.
when you're having sex freely, just like
Mhm.
we saw the young lady get cussed out by the man, right now that just built a wall to her. She probably hate black men at this point. You understand what I'm
Mm.
saying? Just because of the way she's being treated. Look, you can't tell me what women feel. That's how women, a lot of this hate mad black woman comes because something happened to them. It could be one man who just fucked it up for her. You feel me? And it has nothing to
Absolutely.
do with sex because sex means more to women than it does for men. There's an emotion, if you do it enough, it's an emotional attachment. And that emotional attachment, we know when women get emotional, it
Mhm.
changes everything. So sex
Mhm.
does play a role in how may not be for men because you guys have a way of detaching yourself from it. Women are quite different when they have sex. Does that make sense?